streaming live on YouTube, youtube.com/smooth981 FM Lagos.
Thank you very much, Ayo. Our first story is from this day newspaper. Nnamdi, this one is talking about the telcos. They are explaining, just, trying to make it clear that, first of all, SIM cards do not belong to the users. They are leased, to us to use. It belongs to the federal government, who now gives it to the telcos. And this is in light of the recent events. One guy was incarcerated. We gave this report that the guy was in jail
Was
in
detained by the
handcuffs.
DSS, yeah.
Yes, detained by the DSS because he was alleged to be using the SIM card that previously belonged to the daughter of Buhari, Hannah. But your thoughts on this story as they've made this clear?
Our thoughts go to the gentleman in question, Mr. Anthony Okolie, a trader in Delta State, who has apparently sued the DSS for 50 million naira. I don't want to say what I hope happens, but I think anybody can guess accurately what I feel. Nonetheless, I think the position of the NCC is, as usually happens with Nigerian authorities, to lean heavily on what the law states in their favor, which is that SIM cards don't belong to subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
You lease it for a certain period. If you go dormant or your line is inactive for 180 days, they can reclaim it and reassign at will. Yeah. However, as usual, my view really is that often with the law in Nigeria, there's this idea that the onus is always on the customer or on the citizenry, whomsoever the regulation or legislation in question affects. So now it's saying that even though you might not know that your validity period is about to run out, it does not matter. The network operator is not under any obligation to send you a notice letting you know, hey, listen, your time is about to run out, so come and do something about it.
Your SIM is dormant.
Your SIM is about to go dormant, come and do something about it. It also forgets that there's a rigorous period before you actually claim your SIM, where they take all your details and register you as a customer. And there's an equally rigorous period when you need to do what they call welcome back. So that's if you've lost your line or something like that. And you have to go, and if you don't have the actual SIM pack, I found this out recently and it was frustrating. You have to go get an affidavit in the court.
Yes.
So I think that all said, all told, I believe that there should be something more, some extra step that they would take if you want to get your line revalidated after the dormancy period. And they should, if they're about to reassign your number, there should be a way they let you know, even just for security purposes.
Yes, but it's not the obligation, first of all. And there's another part of the story where
that's the argument. It's not the obligation, but that's based on a very strict interpretation of the law. I would say that if you have something as significant as somebody's mobile phone, which in many occasions is their lives,
and personal
what if you took off for 180 days unexpectedly and then you came back and suddenly your line is being used by someone else? You have this wide network of people who have access to that number, constantly calling you. Some may be calling to give sensitive information. What happened there?
But regarding the case of the gentleman who was incarcerated by the DSS, couldn't the DSS have, at least, shouldn't they know these things, that the NCC regulation?
No, that was typical heavy-handed DSS behavior. I don't think we need to dwell on it too long, because obviously the fellow had nothing to do with it. If they reassigned the line to him, what's his business who owned it beforehand? Especially in light of what you just said, which is that it's not their obligation to notify anybody else. Which is what I think this is all about. NCC is trying to cover its tracks.
Yes, so just to point out that whilst NCC is trying to cover its tracks, but we could have telecommunications operators do what is morally right in terms of informing them. That's an added service.
That's exactly what I'm recommending. I think that they need to take that extra step.
Right,
bombard the lines the way you bombard their lines when you need to get a new service. Oh, we have Glow, whatever. Sorry, I didn't even say
But if
something
you lost your
online.
SIM, you'll not get any of those.
You're not going to get that bombardment. It's a problem.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to our next story. The Guardian newspaper reports that Commonwealth Solidarity offers benefits to Africa. Buhari declares. He made the statement when he was addressing a group of diplomats and certain stakeholders in this kind of conversation, the European Union. But your thoughts on this, Cheta?
I read through the story, and the only thing I could do was yawn. I almost felt like I sleeping inside reading it. It tells me, the story tells me that unfortunately our president is behind the times. He doesn't know what is happening.
He knows about
The,
Brexit.
the Commonwealth is largely an irrelevant organization now. Even the British have not exactly been servicing it for some years. And when you want to look at is supposed to be about trade. The British are trying, in the light of the oncoming Brexit, they are trying to look for new trading partners. But when you consider the fact that the new British ambassador to Nigeria is a development expert, not a business person, it tells you what their focus with respect to us is. They are coming to dump a lot of aid on us, not trade. And what we need is trade. But here's the thing. Trading partners, let's look at a few countries and look at their trading partners. US, their biggest trading partners are China, Canada, Mexico, Japan, and Germany in that order. The UK, their biggest trading partners are the US, Germany, Netherlands, France, and Ireland in that order. France, their biggest trading partners are Germany, the US, Spain, Italy, and Belgium. Germany's biggest trading partners are the US, France, China, UK, and the Netherlands. China's biggest trading partners are the US, Hong Kong, Japan, South Korea, and Vietnam. Japan's biggest trading partners are China, the US, South Korea, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. Nigeria, our biggest trading partners are Brazil, China, India, Japan, the US, and the EU. What do you see is wrong with that picture? We have a bit of abnormality where we don't trade with our neighbors. All of these countries, if you look at the list of their top 5 trading partners, their neighbors are there.
Yes.
We are not trading with our neighbors. As a matter of fact, we've closed our borders to our neighbors and we expect progress. The trade subsector accounts for 18% of our GDP, twice that of oil, and accounts for it's the second largest employer of labor in the country. Trade GDP contracted by negative 1.45% in the last report, was negative 0.25% in the previous GDP report. So our trade sector is in a recession. That's what we should be looking at fixing, not trying to revive a relic of the colonial past of an organization. Please.
Thank you, Cheta.
Thank you, Cheta. We have a comment here from Opeyemi Praise who says, "Thank God there's nothing anywhere that says SIM cards belong to the president's family." That's all. Let's move on to our next story quickly. Tunde, I'll come to you for this. Presidency names 20 basic food items, sanitary pads, others on VAT exemption list, according to the Guardian newspaper. Recall that we had the new finance bill law signed, and part of it is an increase in VAT from 5% to 7%. Mind, that's still one of the lowest in the world. However, we have reports from the presidency that so as to consider the cost of living and that it doesn't rise because of the charges of the VAT, there are some locally produced items that will be exempt. Please take us through those items.
So it's 7.5%, not 7%. I think it's about an increase of
7.5%. Yes, I beg your pardon.
of 50%. If you look at inflationary trends before even the implementation of this inflation is on the rise, right? And they haven't, the government or the administration really hasn't gotten a handle of it. When the new VAT rate comes into effect, you expect that would still have a knock-on effect on inflation, and what they're trying to do is counteract that by excluding essential, or what they'll describe, or what you could describe as your everyday needs as well. So that's why you see things like sanitary towels, you see food items and locally produced items on the list, which will help, but it won't lead. Look, living conditions are already tough, and they're on the increase and they're on the rise. Many people will argue that the increase in VAT would exacerbate that, but the government needs to fund the budget. Right, that money needs to come from somewhere. The new tax bill, in all, has its many positives. Because if you look at what it's done, or what it aims to do for small businesses, right, that's very favorable. If you look at it holistically, it looks like a bill that is designed to encourage SMEs, and in most nations, the SME sector is the engine room of the economy. So you can say that it's positive in that regard. But then, what impact does it have on end users and consumers with taxes that go directly to them, like VAT? It's not so positive in that regard. They're hoping to counteract it with these policies. Let's see how successful they are. always the issue, always is implementation and monitoring and knowing exactly what is on the list and what isn't on the list.
Yes.
And and general confusion everywhere. And this is not even knowledge on the side of the consumers, but even the people who are to apply the law.
Yes.
You'd find officers and officials who themselves will be confused as to what exactly VAT should apply to and not. And does this create the room for any gray areas? Those are the questions.
Thank you very much. I think it's also worthy of mention that tuition fees from nursery, primary, secondary, and tertiary education is VAT exempt. So please take note of that. And like you mentioned, only last week one of the government agents.
VAT exempt or VAT increase exempt?
Increase exempt, sorry. Oh no, thank you, Tunde. Please, you're still paying 5%. Just
Before people go and fight in the
increase.
school.
Mhm.
I was already thinking of that school bill.
Like someone has gone quick and cancel.
Just
Thank you
imagine
very
somebody standing in front of the till saying, "No, there's no VAT, sir. Madam, please, it's still fine. Still, money is still on it." Let's go back to the story now from this the newspaper. Analysts reveal revised tariffs may not end power sector woes. Still talking VAT. It's a sweeping wave. Hamatan seems to be back, but this is another stronger Hamatan. It's across businesses now. Talking about power, it's a major concern in Nigeria. We still don't have lights. There's certain reports around the world, Nigeria actually, that certain transmission networks are down. But your thoughts on this particular issue now?
So they have various different analysts in quotes who have reacted to the proposed or soon to be implemented cost-reflective tariffs. Well, they say will come into force in April 2020.
April 1st, yes.
Yeah, so this headline, revised tariffs may not end power sector's woes, is another way of saying you will pay more, you still won't have light. I think that if we consider so what happens is there's a multi-year tariff order, which is a methodology, there's a certain methodology they use to calculate how to charge you for your use of power and also take into consideration how much money has been spent by the different participants in the power sector in bringing that power to you. And that's why they call it cost reflective tariffs. They're trying to get that bill you pay to be sufficient for you to continue to get light. And they are supposed to do 5-year major reviews of this multi-year tariff order, or MITO, as it's called in the industry lingo, and yearly minor review. So this was a minor review that they did last year. I think it was initiated sometime in July, and then by December they announced what they were going to change. The given reason for increasing the tariffs is technical losses. Technical losses are losses that arise from, in summary, and not to be boneheaded, equipment failure. So I think that a lot of customers are going to be just a little bit miffed that what you're saying is that what we've always known, that critical infrastructure in the power sector is moribund. We're going to continue to carry the can. Now they're not announcing that they're going to get more power. They're not announcing that distribution challenges are going to be solved. They have said that metering, trying to get all customers not being charged. What do they call it again? What's that thing that you do?
Estimated bill.
So they're not being charged with estimated bill. Is ongoing at the moment. But I mean, I really do feel like this story is yet another step on this well-trodden path of how are we going to get more power? What do we do? And at the end of the day, we continue to suffer on the consumer end for failings that are not of our own making. And I hope they get their house in order sooner rather than later.
Okay. Thank you very much for that optimistic approach to this story. Please keep your messages coming into WhatsApp 0809-444-0981.
Inka says, Cheta, in fact, I had to go read up on the reason of the formation of the EU or the ECC in past. So you keep asking, what's the essence of the AU or even ECOWAS? One of the reasons for the formation of the EU, aside from avoiding a World War III in Europe, is solely for the essence of trading with neighboring countries. Yet, we have an AU that is yet to even sort out interconnectivity amongst African states, not to talk of doing business.
He raised a very important point. We have the AFTA. Nigeria was one of the last to sign it. So that's to show you how anti-trade we are. Some very simple point. If people who do not trade with each other will fight each other. Between 1453 and 1945, there were 70 wars in Europe. Between 1945 and now, 0.
But Rosemary doesn't agree with you. She says trading is all about exchange of values. If my neighbor cannot offer value, why am I going to trade with him? By the way, most of the items coming from neighbors are on the ban list.
That's where we start from. Ban, 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 ban. What has ban ever solved?
All right, thank you.
One of the things we might see as an issue that's been ignored, I wouldn't say ignored in a general sense, but you're very conversant with this Maiduguri Damaturu route. There's a complaint. Analysts have revealed that these certain issues like border closure and all those things wouldn't necessarily address would probably address the security issue, but not necessarily the trade concern. But looking at the terrorist activities crippling transmission networks in Borno, that's another scare. Cheta, what are your thoughts?
We're now in the offensive season. Typically, once the dry season really takes hold, the various factions of Boko Haram go on the offensive to consolidate their territory. Any fairly competent military analyst will be able to tell you that's what they are doing. They are basically consolidating, and they've been doing this. It's generally followed a pattern. We're fighting laws during the rains and then picks up during close to Christmas. That's when attacks. You can actually plot a graph of this thing, and it's kind of disappointing that the government has not or does not seem to get this. Instead, just relying on fighting this war on the pages of the newspaper. It is clear that the insurgents are preparing for an offensive. And when you are preparing for an offensive, what do? You cut off power, you cut off communications. It creates a dark hole that you can actually do what you want to do inside. Clear, obvious as day. I don't get it. I'm exhausted about talking about this thing because it's clear, and it's also clear that people are not listening.
All right, thank you, Cheta. We'll move on to our next story from New Telegraph. And Tunde, I'll come to you for this. African Development Bank to invest $250 million in water sanitation in FCT. I'll let you take us through the details of this story, please.
All right, so I mean, the AFDB, the African Development Bank, is a multilateral finance development institution, right? And the primary and main focus is on largely on socioeconomic things that affect living conditions on the continent and improve business and generally the lots of the continent, right? So projects like this are right up their alley. You know, projects that have to do with water,
yes,
sanitation, and that's what the story covers. It even talks about plans to build a technology village in Abuja, which is supposed to help encourage employment and generate, the SME sector and business and all of that.
They also talk about partnership with climate change and climate funds and climate change organizations.
As one of the fund providers for these projects that they want to do. Okay. There's also something they have planned for the for agro-industrial, processing of produce, because we produce. Let's say your cocoa beans cost. By the time you process and you grind cocoa beans, you can sell them for maybe 10x the just the cost of the beans. So processing as well. So there's a lot. This ties into the questions around the earlier question and debate from the comment around trade in Africa and development. The truth is we don't trade with each other because there's no pretty way to say it. We're still generally as nations integrated to our colonial past, and that's where the history is. So you see us trading a lot with Europe, some with America, and then recently with Asia, China, and Japan, who are not colonial, but we never have had that attitude of trading with one another. We do have produce that we need. There's a lot of informal trade that goes on, but a lot of that isn't captured within the formal, structures, and that can change. The AFDB sponsoring the right projects and the right kind of things can, lead a lot more into that, integration on the continent. The AFDB, the ECHO, that is supposed to be planned for launch this January, but a lot of member nations haven't signed up, and then after.
Thank you very much, Cindy. We move on to our next story quickly. Cheta, Nigeria's minister appoints daughter as special assistant. This is from Premium Times. The minister in question is the Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Pauline Talon. She said to have appointed one of her daughters, Violet Osunde, as a special assistant in her office. It's a detailed report. In fact, it's said to be an exclusive piece by Premium Times. And what they've accused her is that even if she hasn't violated any law, it's still not, it's a breach of her oath of office and it suggests nepotism. What's your take on this, Cheta?
Has she done anything wrong? She's just taking her cue from the very top. Let's give an example. We have a chap called Mama Daura that our first lady has come to the public to complain about several times. That lives in the villa with his whole family. What is his position? His only position is that he's the nephew to the president. The personal chief security officer to the president was supposed to retire sometime last year, but his tenure of service was illegally extended to 2023. His name is Abdul Karim Daura, and his only qualification to get that extension is that he's a brother to Mama Daura and the president's nephew. So when you have nepotism like that, please, Mrs. Stalin, fire on.
No, but it's on a serious note, Cheta.
I am being very serious.
I know you're being serious, but on another serious note, it is important for us to not say because this has continued to go on without being checked, we should allow it to continue to go on. So the reason I'm really glad that Premium Times have taken it upon themselves to investigate this and its detailed is because I believe that until we start to challenge these things, despite the fact that they've run on for so long, we will not see a change. So I'm glad that not only did they do a report on this, but they also got responses from ASU, PP, others who have kicked against this appointment, saying that it's not morally right.
I'll tell you a story. The Senate President, Ahmed Lawan, tries to give Enya Abaribi, who is the leader of the opposition in the Senate, a pass to the presidential villa. And Abaribi refused, said he doesn't need it. Why? Because the most senior Igbo man within the caucus in the presidential villa happens to be one of the president's photographers. So he said, what am I using it for? In the past, what had always happened was because we tried to balance things out, everybody within the Senate had somebody from his ethnic group / region, senior, close around the corridors of power, who could at least approach the president. Now we have a situation where it is not just people. When people say, "Oh, the president surrounded himself with Northerners," that's not accurate. He surrounded himself completely with a very small clan of people. So why are we surprised that his ministers are taking a cue? Why?
All right, thank you. Yes.
I think maybe this is not even just a Nigerian problem, which is very interesting. I've been looking at the newest or the most powerful African leader, in my opinion, is Donald Trump in the White House. And if you look, I think on the cover of Time a couple of weeks ago, or was it last week, you had Jared Kushner.
I think that bringing Donald Trump into this is false equivalence.
No. Cheta, hang on. It's a very subtle point. The point is simply that this is something that African presidents have been doing for yonks. And of course, as Cheta has mentioned, it appears that this government in charge has taken it to a new level. And it is, I believe, so intoxicating what they've done in these parts that Donald Trump has found it significant to imitate. I mean, imitation is the best form of flattery.
The next president of this country or a future president will appoint everybody same mama, same papa, and nobody will be able to say anything. And that's president.
And that's why we have to check it. No matter how long it's gone for, no matter how popular it's become.
So let us start by calling out.
Forget about it.
No, I'll never forget about it.
Nepotism is an African situation.
No, we
neither crime nor sin, nor is it something that you can fight with newspaper stories, nor is it something that you can ever get rid of. Not really. As long as we remain as we are in these parts.
So if you go into office, Nnamdi, would you appoint your family members?
As what?
As special advisors, as political appointees?
Chief cook.
Almost certainly, yes.
He's saying almost. He's being diplomatic. Yes.
Let's just be real.
Chief cook.
That's not
food
right.
taster, kiniko.
messages.
In short, all the ministers will be from my village. Since this is what we have started, let us just continue it. I mean, come on.
All right, we have messages. Lara says, is the daughter qualified for that position?
Yes, she is actually.
Yes, I think that should be the essential question.
No, it should
No,
not.
it shouldn't
One
be
of
a
it.
conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bingo says, Cheta is really obsessed with the president for whatever ridiculous
Oh,
reason.
come on.
Because he's the president.
Cheta, you don't have to respond.
Okay, sorry.
There are messages on WhatsApp. Ade says, on another serious note, we know there's an issue with the way personal assistants are picked. Till we start choosing people based on competency, we'll keep having this issue. Think of how we have to pick ministers from all regions, even if they're not competent. That's where it starts. Every one of the family has to get a slice of the cake.
All right, then Lara says, I don't think nepotism is an African thing. John F. Kennedy did it. So it's been happening for so long. Thank you very much for your comments. Move on to our next one. Nnamdi, since you have the mic, I'll go with this story. Resident doctors want law to protect health workers against assault. New Telegraph reports this. Please take us through the details.
It is an important story. I mean, the general allegation here is that health workers, doctors, nurses, and the like, anesthesiologists, etc., are facing a huge, it seems, upsurge in violence for one reason or the other. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors has now called for a new law to protect health workers against assault while on duty. Just coming straight out the gate, I think what they've proposed is an unreasonable law, although I understand the sentiment.
Now, sorry, before we get here, let's talk
Yeah.
about the origins and one of the reasons why this has become really important.
Yeah.
The incident that happened in Abuja with the female doctor
Yeah,
who was assaulted, stripped naked,
and
because
physically abused.
by her patients.
Yeah. Also, that for me again. That's why I said it's a very disheartening story. There's that. There's another story reported in this. There's another issue reported in this story about. I think it's a male doctor who was beaten. And I'm only going to assume that what has happened is that the healthcare system has failed some of these people, relatives of patients, and so they see nobody else to take it out on doctors. But I want to just implore Nigerians or whomever is listening to this program that most of the time in Nigeria, doctors are overworked, under-resourced, and just exhausted all the time. Now, the likelihood when you have this situation, when they're underpaid and under-resourced, but still forced to go to work and do unending shifts, is that mistakes will occur. I'm speaking about this. I'm not a healthcare professional, so I don't have to mince my words. But I'm saying that the law they proposed, which is that any attack on doctors should be a non-bailable offense with a minimum of a 1-year jail term. First and foremost, is already unconstitutional. We know what the Constitution provides with regards to bail and personal liberty. We don't need to go deeply into that. And I do think that there are laws already regarding crime and fight for this purpose, but they already exist. What I really think needs to happen is that there needs to be a bit more awareness, like I said, about the fact that these guys are not really working against you.
Yes.
But the system, just as it is set up against them, against you, is also set up against them. And once you have that in mind, a certain level of empathy will generate sympathy.
And Zorin here on Twitter, on WhatsApp says, good morning again. Please, let's not say that nepotism is an African phenomenon. JFK had RFK as Attorney General. FDR had his sons constantly with him in a Mamandara type role. So please, let's not make ourselves out to be the worst than we really are. We have enough bad things
We're
going for us
constantly in a state of apologia.
Emeka from Amoa says, isn't there a law already against assault? As a medical doctor myself, I was once assaulted. The attacker was eventually arrested. He pleaded for settlement after spending 3 nights in the police cell, and we had to let go. Though I agree there needs to be a form of control.
Thank you very much, Emeka. Yinka says, who will change what? Even when we challenge it, Uncle Femi and Co will begin to make sense out of nonsense. Seeing their comments on the presidential jet and our first daughter, it's not even lame, it's just ridiculous.
And Dr. I here says another law is assault against health workers different from assault against students or women. What we need is more security in the hospitals and faster prosecution of criminal patients. Thank you very much, Dr. I. And this is where we draw the curtains on this conversation. Thank you very much, gentlemen. For a Monday morning, Tunde Okufi is at Big Coast. You can find them on Twitter. Let's continue the conversation with them there. And Nnamdi is at Nnamdi Cheta is at CHXTA on Twitter. Stay with us here on Smooth.